Tune in to Arise, the new wave media experience with LaTonya Smiley and HR. Arise for a strong dose of love, joy, laughter, and information for healthy living.
Well, we're living in our purpose because God put us on this earth. Our purpose on this earth was to encourage each other. I often wonder why there are so many people, but that is the way God operates. We are an encouragement to some people who are discouraged from feeling that they can succeed. Success only comes by failure. A certain amount of failures leads to success. The attitude is, I am not going to quit. I'm going to stick it out until the end.
Welcome to the Arise. I am LaTonya Smiley. Today we have with us the Commissioner, Larry Johnson of DeKalb County of Georgia. Welcome to the show, Commissioner.
Oh, glad to be a part with you this early in the morning. So
it's not that early now.
It's an exciting time, and to be talking about some very exciting issues in our community. So thank you for having me today.
Oh, thank you for you're such a busy person, So I am really appreciative of this moment because I know how busy you are in the community. And you're right. We have a lot to get into right now because we're facing a lot right now. This is the presidential election.
That's right.
A different kind of election that I've never experienced in my lifetime. And there's a lot of controversy around this particular this presidential election this year. And you have people who are insecure, people who doubtful about the system. There's fear.
Yes.
Now, something I've never experienced before, again, in my lifetime. So what are your feelings about this year's presidential election?
My feeling is you got so many factors that are going to impact your ability to vote. And it's going to be crucial that you be as mentally strong as you can. And what we're finding out that this is one of the most stressful elections people have. And I saw statistics, 7 out of 10 people feel anxiety and they're feeling very stressed. But part of what you have to do is know how the game is. The game is to keep you stressed and full of anxiety. But you got to know what you know. And the main thing you have to know is that you have to vote. You have to study. You have to find out what candidates are saying. You got to look at the referendums and making sure that you are proactive because you are needed. A no vote is still a vote. I'm letting people know that. A no vote is still a vote. You can say, I ain't going to do it. I'm just mad. No, you have voted. And so what you have to do in the middle of the flu, the COVID, the middle of folks don't want you to vote, you got to press on. I mean, you come from a race, you come from a group of people who had to endure so much to get to this point, and we just can't turn back. And so I'm just relying on us to have that spiritual, that intuitive feeling, that intestinal fortitude to say we're going to rise up, that we're going to breathe. We're not going to let nobody put a knee on our neck. You cannot let nobody put a knee on your neck. And they can do it in so many ways and have you sitting at home in distress. But what we've done in DeKalb, I'm over the operations committee and I'm now over elections. And we have additional days, Saturday and Sunday voting. Last time we only had 1 day Saturday, 1 day Sunday, but during the early voting period, it starts October 12th. We now will have Saturday and Sunday voting. We also have drop boxes. And I don't know if Ms. Atwater is part of this or not, but I'm going to get you a copy of the locations for the drop box. So if you
Commissioner, give me a moment. You're ahead of me.
I'm sorry.
You're ahead of me.
I got you. You got me fired up.
You're ahead of me. We're going to get to that because I want that to be the last thing that rings in our listeners' ears.
Right.
That information,
okay.
But
I want to try to see if I can get it sent to us so you can share it on the screen too.
Okay. What are what are we working against that requires our urgency to vote? you said we need to know, and I think that is the key. A lot of people, we don't know. Our community, we don't know a lot of the nuances that go along with that.
Well,
Like for example, the mail-in, they have a deadline. If you can correct me, they do have a deadline to mail in, and there's a deadline, as a cutoff time for them to count the mail-in votes.
right.
Is that some truth to that?
Yeah, the mail-in votes, they now have struck it down that if it has to be in the drop boxes or in the office of the elections by 7 o'clock on Tuesday. We did have a previous ruling where you had 3 days after the election, but now it's just back to the old election. That's why it's very important to use those. If you're going to do an absentee ballot, drop them off at the drop box or go vote early at one of the early voting sites. But if you want to put it in the mail, you need to put it in the mail. Really, when you get it, you need to fill it out and put it in the mail. But I would just try to do the drop boxes as well as go to an early voting site.
Okay. Again, let's go back to exactly what are we working against that requires our urgency to vote?
Well, you're working against your economic development. You want to make sure you have folks who represent you, who want to make sure they understand that in the African American community, you may have an unemployment rate about 7%, but it's about double that in our community. That a lot of the essential workers that are now being impacted by COVID, a large majority of them are minorities and people of color. And so they can't afford to stay at home. And so they're risking their lives to go to work. And a lot of them who may have gotten laid off, the $600 that they had was cut off, and now they're getting $300. And so part of it is you want to make sure you have your economic voices heard. And you also want to make sure you have opportunities for programs that allow you to get housing, from affordable housing to being a first-time home buyer, to making sure you have a quality education for your kids and having the adequate funding for schools. So all of those things are on the line. But one of the most pressing things on the line, if you don't register to vote, guess what? You can't serve on the jury. You can't help a Breonna Taylor. You can't help Ahmaud Arbery. You can't help a George Floyd. So registering to vote allows you to become a juror to make sure you can be on there when you have tough cases like this to make a decision. To
be an active citizen.
That's right.
To be an active citizen.
Part of your democracy. Part of this is democracy is that, I mean, one of the best nonviolent tools we have, what John Lewis said, is to vote.
Right.
Can't take that away. It's not based on your income, color, or nothing. You are equal to everybody when you turn 18.
How do you, like I said earlier, I just really never thought that in my lifetime I would be dealing with the issue of fighting for my voting rights. And in this time, in 2020, being that generations before us have already died and shed blood for that very cause. How did we get back to this point?
Ms. Smiley, you just raised a very good question. And I'm gonna get to a point called stay woke. Remember, we still were fighting for it, from a poll tax to literacy tax. Do you have to tell how many bubbles in the bubble or how many balls in the jar to vote? You had all of those issues have been always manifesting over the lifetime of African Americans participating in the right to vote. Even when you look at the women's suffrage movement, Black women didn't get the right to vote till 20 years later.
Yeah.
So you got all of these things, but if you don't read your history, guess what happens? You're going to repeat it. That's why you should have, at every election, we should have close to 100% voting participation. But if you look at our past elections, from runoffs to early voting, to early primaries, we very rarely vote like we need to vote. And so it's very imperative on shows like you to just remind people of the struggle and that it did not go away. And so you have to stay woke at all times to make sure that you are moving forward to that your kids, your grandkids, your great grandkids understand that this is something that people died for. This is something that people fought for, and that you got to keep it sacred and making sure that you go do it.
Right. You're exactly right. What process is in place for DeKalb County, Georgia? And I guess you don't really have to just speak for DeKalb County. You want to speak for others areas, but specifically, this is what we know: DeKalb County, Georgia. What is in place to assist voters with, feeling secure and ensuring that, that it's going to be okay? Because we
Right.
have a lot that a lot of issues that was raised. They're thinking about their security now, and complications with the machine and the long lines. And so what's this in place? I know, yeah, go ahead.
But part of it is they got to understand that the elections, voter registration election office is independent of the county. They're independent group. The people who appoint the board members are from each party, the Democrats and Republicans, and then they hire the director, and then they elect the chair. But the Secretary of State office is the one who runs and who buys the machines, who helps with the text that can come to your location, who helps with, who decides on basically when they send out these absentee ballots. So you have a lot of different entities operating in the same space, but don't have equal power. And that can cause confusion within itself. So what we try to do at the county level is to help provide the funding to make sure that your voting experience is the best experience possible. If we need to have more poll workers, our goal is to help fund more poll workers. If we need to have more machines, we'll help fund more machines. If we need to have more staff to help you process the election ballots and all those things, we want to provide that. But once we pass the funding to the voting registration election office, they're in charge of the day-to-day operation and management of the operation. And so that's where the rub may come in, where a lot of folks mix us up together, but we cannot tell them what to do. We can give them the finances to help them, but we can't tell them what to do. Whereas the Secretary of State pays for the machines, and so they need to be responsible for those machines and how they work. So once you give them to the county, you work with what you got. And so this is how complicated this process is. And so we're trying to make it as smooth as possible.
That's why so many people are getting lost because of that.
But you
got
to
be aware of the process behind it.
That's right. But I'd like to break it down to folks so they can understand that just by talking to your county commission don't mean the problem is going to be solved, because we don't oversee the election process. That's an independent body.
So moving now, you spearheaded a grant.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I was one of the ones who pushed to get the grant done and to make sure that the county got their fair share. We had county folks and election folks who actually wrote it, but I was doing a lot of coaching to make sure that we don't miss this money, because like you've been talking about over and over, this could be an election like no other. You got spaces, social distancing, you have new voting machines. So this cannot be run like a regular operation we did in the 20th century. It has to be, and then the folks we used to have at the polls who worked the polls, the average age was like 72, but they are impacted by COVID. So now you have to switch to another generation who needs to understand the election process. So you're bringing them into the mix as well. So this funding that we receive allows us to help with communicating strategy, hiring staff, getting additional machines, letting folks know about opportunities when we're dealing with social distancing and COVID, to help sanitize, to bring out disinfectant. So now we got some enhancements to help us. And this will not only be for this election, we need to use this money for future elections, because we're not going to go back to the old ways. It's over.
we've stepped over those lines.
That's
It's
right.
over.
It's over. It's over. You can't. I
what
don't. You can't. You
what
can
we
talk about
experienced
it.
in the past, we won't.
Yeah,
What we
no, no. Because
experienced in
people
the
like
past
to
will
talk
never
about
happen.
they like to talk about how it used. I say it won't be that way no more. It ain't gonna. So don't get that out your mind. Focus on how it is right now, and then you're gonna see more changes after that. Because at some point you'll be able to send your robot out to vote for you. So
Right.
you have total automation where you won't have to even go out, and then you probably some point you'll be able to vote at home with your phone. I'm hoping we get to that point. You can vote at home and don't even have to come out to vote, and then electronically do it. Boom, send it in, and it just changes the whole process.
Right.
And see,
So
I worked on some legislation because you have to get all this passed at the state level that you can vote at any precinct. Right now, if you at work in Cobb County or Gwinnett, you live in DeKalb, you got to rush home to vote. But if you can get back to the county line and vote at any precinct, then guess what? That helps you instead of having to run all the way back to your precinct. Let's do it where you should be able to vote. If you're the DeKalb County resident, let's vote at any precinct you want to. We have the technology and the capacity to do it. Let's roll, you know?
hmm that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
The more convenient it is, the
Yes,
more participants you will have.
that's right. That's right. That's what you want. You
Yeah.
want to make it, like you said, you want to make it easy, not hard.
So so can we trust the system when it comes to mail-in, and can we trust the system?
Can you trust the system? I think you can trust as much as you can with any system. But I mean, I would tell people the bold goal is to get your absentee ballot and go to the drop box so you see it. You get in there and do it, or vote early, because you got Saturday and Sunday voting. Plus, you can vote every day. If you have any doubts, I would do those two things right off the bat. Or if you want to go on election day to vote, you know you're in line, you can vote, and you just make it happen. That's the only thing I
Right.
can say. I can't tell you how things could be wrong and all that. I've seen, like, people have the right to be fearful because we've had some mishaps in the past. But I just tell people you got to just keep pressing, because the goal is if you say the negatives too many times, guess what happens? People just won't go vote. They're gonna say, well, they're gonna cheat me anyway, so I'm not gonna put that in the atmosphere. I believe that
Right.
if you go and exercise your right to vote, it's gonna be counted.
Right. And that's the point, to let people know that you can make the change.
That's right.
That's the point of yeah, you can make the change. If you feel insecure, then you step out
That's
and you
right.
make the change and you make it happen.
That's right.
Okay,
That's right.
you add stability there.
It's always on you. It's never on the other
Right.
person. It's always going to
Right.
be, if you want, like you did with what you're doing now, you had to step out on faith and do it. You had all these folks around you and they told you this and that, but if you didn't do it, Miss Smiley, you wouldn't have a rise show, because you had so many
Exactly.
folks, and then you had to deal with this mind telling you don't do that and do this. But this is a powerful tool that can talk you out of
It
stuff
is.
and talk you into stuff. But it's
It is.
all boiled down to you making a decision.
Exactly. So earlier you were mentioning about the different places where they can go get the information. Where can we get the information that we need?
Well, I got Miss Atwater. She's on here with the census. I don't know
Okay.
if you have a button
Yes, I have her,
that she can
Miss
share.
Atmore.
If she can share, we can share with you the sites and the information that we have put on our website and our email. And then you can just get on my email list, Larry Johnson at DeKalbCountyGA.gov, Larry Johnson at DeKalbCountyGA.gov, and we'll put you on our email list to get information about what's going on. Or you can go to the DeKalb County website, the voter election page, and it has all this information up there. But if she can put it up there for you, I want you to know what's going on.
Okay. I think she's working on it.
Great.
She's
She
working
can
on
do
it.
that for you, but we can give you the Dropbox locations. We can get the early voting locations. We can have all those things for you to make a difference on how things work.
Okay, so let's talk about census. Now, I have to admit, you're the first to, for me, you're the first person I can admit this to. This would be my first year.
What?
Well, actually, you're not the first one. I'm admitting this to the world now. Count everyone in your household.
You got to do it. It's only 10 minutes per question.
I must say that I guess I am one of the ones who just had my own beliefs about the census, the census.
Right.
And you know, and you just didn't believe, okay, what's the purpose of this? And you know, when they first started doing it,
right,
it was like from that point on, I was like, no, I don't think I want to do this. Why? They want to get in my business, and
right.
I know I'm not the only one.
You're saying that's what people suspect and how they feel it. But I'm gonna give you some reasons why you need to do it. Once you let me say it.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna give you one example that's very crucial. 2 weeks ago, I had about 11 families who got kicked out of the Efficiency Lodge right here, Panthersville and Flat Shows. Armed guards came in and removed them. And they were outside at least about 6-7 hours. We had got $125 million from the federal government for CARES and COVID. The money is based on your population. The population count comes from your census. DeKalb County had a 72% response rate in 2010. That means we left, We left $240 million on the table because we didn't have a 100% count. But the money that we did receive, we were able to use it to help folks who were going through homelessness and evictions. And we were able to work with a local church to get them families put up for 5 days, get them some clothes. They wouldn't even let them go back in to get their clothes. That's how bad it was. But that money that we received from CARES, that came based on our population, the population came from our census count, allowed us to help with that. We also had a business loan program for small businesses. A lot of small businesses didn't get the PPP money, but we did our own. And we gave up to $40,000, a forgivable loan to small businesses to help them. But that came out of the CARES money, which came based on our population from the census. That's why we need everybody count, because if we got everybody counted, guess what? We got an additional $4 million to help us with all of these entities. That's a lot of cheese. And you want to have all the money you can when you're dealing with pandemics. Think about the hospital. Look, think about the bed space and that we're dealing with COVID, hospitalizations. You know, they base your beds, hospital beds, based on your population and your census.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. That's how you can tell how many beds, because it's based on that and how you do it. Guess what? If you, Miss Smiley, you want to make you a bed and breakfast, and you want to have a restaurant in and everything, you have to do a market analysis. Guess what? The data that comes from the census, based on age, population, race, is based on the census. In order for you to put the business where you need to put it, and to make sure you can derive the best income you can, you got to have your population count, and that's from
the census.
So now you understand why? Based on then your show. Think about your show. When you're trying to do commercials and you want people to do commercials on your show, you know, when you get big, you're going to start getting big like Oprah and doing all this stuff.
Yes, thank you so much.
They're going to be looking at demographics. They're going to be looking at your population. That population is based on the census. And that's how you're going to drive your TV audience and where they need to put your show and who they need to get to by commercial and what demographics you're using. That's why the census is so important. So if you hadn't got it done, Miss Smiley, I want you to email Miss Adwater your information. And I got people who can walk you through the census. It's only going to take you 5 minutes. And I want to get you counted. And we got people.
I'm counted. I mailed it in. I mailed it in.
All right. But that's why I want to get everybody in there. mycensus2020.gov, mycensus2020.gov. Please fill it out. So that was my long answer to you.
that was a good answer, a needed answer. How can we get involved? because I think now we just need to know where we can get involved, where we're needed. How can we get involved?
You got to find your niche. You got to find out where you need it. I mean, I tell people to start off as basic as you can. I would start off working with the schools. Our children need as many mentors as they can get. Start off with the PTA, the school council. Those things, you're on the ground. You where the rubber meets the road, because you get all types of things. The kids need books. You may be dealing with homelessness. You may be dealing with trying to get parents more engaged. You may need help with the teachers in terms of helping them to be motivated. They may need school supplies. They may need a breakfast, a special day for teachers, principal. The school booster club may need you. You may have folks who can't afford to buy their uniforms. The band may need you. People can't afford to buy their musical tools. All of those things allow you. And then the next step is, most of us live in a neighborhood. Get involved in your homeowners association. Start off at that level, to be over the litter patrol committee, to be over to help with the seniors who may be having folks who may be sick, or the welcome committee. Things, it doesn't take a lot. You don't have to have a degree or certification to be engaged and be involved. And I tell people, just look around you. There's a lot of opportunities for you to be engaged in your community. You just got to, like we always talk about, you attitude, you have to make the decision on where you want to start to make it happen.
I do want to say this, that the way that you and I crossed paths was way back I was doing the health fairs.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I was doing health fairs at the church, and I would have you to come to speak at the church, and it was through Vivian Moore, you know Vivian Moore.
Right.
And it's you and Vivian Moore that really played a really major part in me really becoming involved in the county. And that's why I'm still I have decided, I wanted to move to different counties, to a different county, but because I'm really dedicated to DeKalb County, right, I just decided to stay within DeKalb to grow and to find. I have become more active on different committees because of you.
Thank you. Wow.
And Vivian Moore. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And just tell people, DeKalb is not where you want to be, but it's not where it used to be. But it's all about how engaged you are as the resident community. If you see issues, you see blight, you see stores that you don't like, you got to get out there and make it happen. And if we do that, because you're not everywhere you go, I don't care. You seen one county, you seen one county. You can't compare Cobb to Gwinnett, Gwinnett to DeKalb. Wherever you are, you got to make that environment work for you. And I tell people, I mean, DeKalb is centrally located. I mean, we're 15 minutes from the world's busiest airport. We got Emory, Agnes Scott, Oglethorpe. We got Georgia State University. You got the Michelle Obama Trail. You got a movie studio. We got 3 movie studios in DeKalb. You got MARTA. You got so much you can do and make things happen. You got classic neighborhoods, Eastlake, Edgewood. You got Candler Road, Columbia Drive, Wesley Chapel. You got Stonecrest, Ellenwood. But it's not happiness. I tell people is a state of being. Wherever you are, you got to make it happiness for yourself. You can be in the richest neighborhood in the world. I guarantee you're going to find some of the most unhappy people in the world. You can be in some of the poorest neighborhoods, but you got mama and them and all them, they making it happen. They happy, they making things happen because they're not focusing on what's around them. They focusing on what they can do. So I'm glad to hear that.
Making it happen within their environment.
That's right. I appreciate that. That was great. That's good motivation for us. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for you and Ms. Atwaters for making this happen on the show and informing us about voting and the census. And like I said, I definitely got mine in, and hopefully this has helped other people to better understand the purpose behind what we do.
Yes, that's right. Purpose. That's the key word this week. Say purpose. Thank you.
Purpose.
That's
All
it.
right. Thank you so much. Thank you
Appreciate it, Miss
so much
Smiley.
for joining.
Stay strong.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right.
You have been listening to Arise with LaTonya Smiley in HR. Contact us at AriseShow2020@gmail.com.
And then once the end has come about, then you turn around and you look at all your failures and see that you are successful. So our purpose is to be successful, but it's not going to be easy. It's a step-by-step process. Once the process is completed, either your hands are raised in your endeavors, or even if you're at your side, you can still look at yourself in the mirror and recognize the fact that you have succeeded and finished until the end.
Contact us at AriseShow2020@gmail.com.